All right, so let's get started.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the pricing session. Oh, hi, Tony.
Okay, Mark, take it away.
Yeah, this is
Hi, Tony.
Dr. Mark Stiving, pricing expert. Take it away, Mark.
Oh, you weren't going to some intro slides or anything? I'm rocking and rolling. It's my show.
You can, yes, well, at the end, we have the check-in code for anybody who arrives late.
Okay. With any luck, you guys are now looking at my screen and my face all at the same time.
Yay, we are.
Yes.
How nice. How nice. All right, we're going to talk about the foundations of pricing and value. First, let me tell you who I am real quickly. I remember being, let's say, 12 years old and going to the grocery store with my mom and seeing prices that ended in nine, right? 79, 99. And I always wondered, why do companies do that? Like, do they think we're stupid? We know that 99 is a dollar. And so fast forward 20 years later, I find myself at UC Berkeley in a doctoral program, and I have a chance to play with scanner panel data. And this is the data that grocery stores collect when we use our loyalty card. And I was able to statistically test whether this 9 cent thing actually works or not. Turns out it does. And it works because we're lazy subtractors. I became addicted to knowing how people use prices to make decisions. And so I've been doing that for 30 plus years at this point in time. But what I have to say is that probably the single biggest lesson I learned as I studied all this is that the most important thing we think about is value. And so you're going to hear me talk about value probably more than you'll hear me talk about pricing today. And that's because value is what truly matters when we start thinking about how do we set prices? What are we going to do for pricing? So let's start the day off with, you've probably heard the saying, a great salesperson could sell a comb to a bald man. Now, I just have to point out, even if a salesperson was successful, he wouldn't get repeat business. He wouldn't get positive word of mouth. And by the way, it's really hard to sell a comb to a bald man. In fact, we might say to ourselves, bald men don't buy combs. And that's because there's no value there. It's not that a comb is bad, it's that person doesn't get value out of what we're offering. And so we want to start thinking about what is value, who gets value from what it is that we do, what it is that we sell. So my favorite saying nowadays, buyers trade money for value. This is a fact of business. This is the reason businesses exist. You exist to give something of value to a buyer who gives you money. So I want to pause for a second and I want you to think about something that you bought recently. Doesn't matter what it is. The only reason you bought it, you got more value than it cost you. This is true for your customers. The only reason customers buy from you is they think they get more value than you're charging for in the price. And so when we look at this phrase, buyers trade money for value, it brings up three really important questions that you want to be answering all the time. Which buyers, how much money, for what value? Which buyers, how much money, for what value? We're going to talk about those three today. Go through this. There's a single most profitable pricing strategy I want you to adopt. When we get through today, I just want you to say, yep, that's my pricing strategy from now on. It's super simple. I call it context-driven pricing, and it simply means charge what a buyer is willing to pay. Doesn't get any easier than that. Well, except for the fact that we don't know what a buyer is willing to pay. But from the perspective that says this is our goal, this is what we want to achieve, this is great. This is exactly what we want to do. Hang on a second, let me pop open the chat. Okay, there's nothing that I need to see in the chat. Kara or Maggie, feel free to interrupt me if I need to see something in the chat, please.
Okay, Rakshana, we'll do that.
I'm on it. Right now it's just cards.
Okay. All right. So when I think of context-driven pricing and we want to charge what a buyer is willing to pay, what we're always doing is putting ourselves in the shoes of a buyer. So what is this buyer thinking? And I have no idea. Right? But that's what we're after, is how do we understand what a buyer is thinking as they make their decisions? Okay, so here's some time. We're going to practice context-driven pricing. Let's pretend that it costs you $20 to buy something, build something, make something. It costs you $20. So those are your costs. And let's say that you're actually able to read a buyer's mind. And you know for a fact this buyer is willing to pay you $100. Charge 101, this buyer is not going to buy. So here's the question. How much are you going to charge?
You guys can answer.
This is the audience participation part.
Yeah.
There's a mic, yeah, the mic is in front of you. You guys just want to pass it around. And for people online, please feel free.
$100.
I'll charge 120.
Oh, I like Shannon's answer, right? $100 seems like a really good answer, right? Because 101, I don't sell it. If I sold it at 99, I would sell it, but I left $1 on the table. Michelle's 99.99. Okay, maybe. Now, when you sell 1 million of those, you left $10,000 on the table, right? Okay, we get the idea. We want to charge $100. So now I'm going to ask another question. What if it costs you $50? Now, how much are you going to charge? Shannon?
$100.
Excellent answer. Love that. Okay, here's the tricky part. What if it costs you $150?
Don't make it.
Whoever said don't make it, I like that answer. Right?
It was Maggie.
Was it Maggie? Okay.
Yeah.
How about we're not going to sell to this customer? If all of our customers are like this, we better be in a different type of business. Right? But the point we want to take away from this is it's absolutely impossible to price better than a buyer's willingness to pay. You can never do better than that. And so you'll hear me focus a lot on what is a buyer willing to pay. And that's what I want you to start thinking. What is a buyer willing to pay? Which buyer is willing to pay me more? Which buyer is not willing to pay as much? And that's how we start thinking about pricing, is because I want to know how much is a buyer willing to pay. And so in this world of context-driven pricing, there are these three tenets that drive this whole concept. The first one is that willingness to pay is contextual. We already saw an example of that. Bald men don't buy combs, right? So the context is I need hair before I'm going to value a comb. Umbrellas are way more valuable on rainy days than on sunny days. So people will pay more for an umbrella on a rainy day. And so if you just think across your customers and a specific product, you could tell that some of them would pay you more and some of them would pay you less. And there's some reason, there's some context behind that. It could be their budget, it could be their circumstances, it could be the problem they're trying to solve. The second tenet to context-driven pricing is willingness to pay is malleable. You have the ability to influence somebody's willingness to pay. And this comes because, first off, if we don't know what you do, we're not willing to pay you anything. But as we learn more and more about what you do and how good you are and what you offer and how much value you're going to give to me, my willingness to pay goes up and up. And so we have the ability in marketing efforts and sales efforts and behavioral economics, we have this ability to actually influence how much someone's willing to pay. So if I pick on Justin for just a second, right? If I'm buying something out of your trunk, I'm actually probably not willing to pay as much as if I'm buying it out of a nice retail store. Right? You have the ability to influence how much I'm willing to pay just based on how you display it, on how you show it. The third tenet is the best one of all. Perfection is impossible. The reason this is the best one is you don't have to worry about being perfect. You will never, ever be perfect. You can't read a buyer's mind. There are constraints that keep you from charging exactly what each person's willing to pay. And so all we ever ask is, how do you get better tomorrow than you are today? That's what we're after, is can we get better tomorrow? And so buyers trade money for value. I live by this theory, right? Which buyers, how much money for what value? Now it's funny, I brought this up and then I started talking about context-driven pricing and how willingness to pay is contextual. And I didn't say the word value. Well, when we start thinking about value, this is how people decide they want to buy. They say, how much value do I get from buying this? And what's the price? So as a general rule, when we deliver a lot of value for a low price, people buy. And that's exactly what we want. But when someone doesn't buy, what happened? When someone doesn't buy from us, it turns out there's always two reasons for every lost sale. First reason is the price was too high. Man, I'm going to pick on Justin just because it's so easy for me to pick on Justin.
Thank you.
So Justin, give me a product you sell, a specific product.
Handmade incense.
Handmade incense. Okay. Someone walks into your store, they pick up the handmade incense, they're looking at it, they're like, this is pretty cool. And they look at the price and they say, yeah, that's not for me. So there's two reasons why they didn't buy that. The first reason was the price was too high, right? You could have lowered the price to a penny and they would have bought it. The second reason was there wasn't enough value. They didn't perceive the value for that. Now, it could be that they just didn't have the problem that handmade incense solves for them. It could also be that they just didn't know what the handmade incense did for them. Right? So you hadn't told the story of how when you put this in your house, you get to see ponies flying around the room or whatever it is.
Did you get some of my incense?
Yeah. But, and so it could just be that they didn't know the value yet. It could be that you deliver a lot of value, but they didn't know it. And it could be that you didn't deliver enough value for them, right? But in the end, it's always value and price. So now as a business person, you have a choice. For that buyer, do you want to lower the price or do you want to increase the value? I live on the side of how do we increase the value? Right? The more I increase the value, the more I have the ability to increase the price. And so as a company, you exist for one reason only, and that's to create value for customers. That's it. Every single company exists for this one reason. Do you understand the value that you're delivering to your customers? Okay, here's another one. Here's another audience participation part of the day. This one's really hard. The last one was super easy. This one's really hard. If companies exist to create value for customers, what's value? Somebody take a guess. Don't worry, you won't be right.
Value is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, God.
Kelly in the
I
comments
would-
says time.
Begging.
Time is a type of value. Value really is in the eye of the beholder, but that didn't really answer our question, Maggie.
Meeting a need that they have.
Oh, that's pretty good, Shannon. Meeting a need that they have. Okay.
Value is maybe the addition of the benefits they get. So it's related to what benefits they're getting from the product.
Okay. So what are the benefits they get from the product? I like that. I just have to say that I argue with my pricing colleagues over the definition of value. This is such a hard word to define. But here's the definition that I've come up with that feels so good and I can use it in almost every circumstance. So buyers come to us because they have problems. But having a problem isn't the value. The value is the result of solving the problem. The value is the result of solving the problem. And so if you want to start thinking about what problems you solve or what value you deliver, what you want to think about is what are the problems you solve for your potential buyers? And as you start to understand that, you now understand, hey, this problem, this other group of people don't have this problem. So I'm going to sell to the people who have the problem, not the people who don't have the problem. Or if I'm selling to both groups, I'm going to charge more to the people who have the problem intensely and less to the people who barely have the problem. So we start thinking in terms of what's the problem that we're solving for a customer, for a buyer. In B2B, anybody in here in B2B? Just curious. Shannon, you are.
That's business to business.
Oh, sorry. Anybody else? Okay. In the world, you are too? What's your name?
Antonio, Tony.
Tony? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the good news is in B2B, value is measured in incremental profit. We actually have the ability to put a dollar value on value if we're good and we know what we're doing. And so when you think about your customer's problem, the only reason a company buys something from you is because they think they make more money after they buy it than before they buy it. When we can truly articulate what those problems are and what the results are going to be after they solve those problems, they can turn that into dollars. Oh, I'm going to make this much more profit. And now it's much, much easier for us to sell. It's much easier for us to price. B2C people aren't so lucky. B2C people value is personal benefit, right? So we start to see things like functional benefits, emotional benefits, social benefits. We don't really get to say, here's how much more profit you're going to make because you bought this shirt. I want that. Stop it. Whatever you're doing, stop. That's what I want. And so it's a little bit harder in B2C than it is in B2B, but we still think in terms of, hey, I had a problem. And picking on Justin again, Justin, take a guess. What problem do you think someone has before they buy your incense?
They're allergic to charcoal.
I don't understand it, but I can believe it. What does it have to do with anything?
Well, there's people who like incense, but they can't burn it because of the charcoal.
Oh, so you have a type of incense that doesn't have charcoal.
Yeah, yes, that's
Nice.
correct.
Nice. And by the way, I'm just really curious. Does your packaging say that?
Yes,
Okay, good.
charcoal free.
Charcoal free. Nice. Well, and so that's just a great example of here's a problem that I'm going to solve for you. You really like incense, but you can't burn it because you're allergic to charcoal. Right. So I would call that a functional one. Right? So we're solving a functional problem. Probably at the same time, we're solving an emotional problem, as in, I feel so calm when I'm able to burn incense. Or it may be a social problem. I like having my friends over and turning incense on when we are sitting around having a conversation. I don't know. I don't use incense. Sorry, Justin.
That's okay. You will after this.
All right. So let's go through a few definitions. And I do this because some of you are not as experienced in business as others. So I just want to make sure that we cover these because they drive the way I think a lot. First, price. This is the easy one. This is how much we're going to ask a buyer to pay us. Cost. This is what it takes you to build it, to deliver it, whatever it is you're going to do, or buy it, whatever you're going to do to get it. So now here, value. We've already seen this. Value is the result of solving problems. So value are the results that you deliver. Now here's the new stuff that you don't think about already. Perceived value. This is the results a buyer believes you deliver. So it is perfectly possible, in fact, likely, that you give benefits to your customers that they didn't realize before they bought the product. Have you ever bought something and then been pleasantly surprised that, oh, it also does this?
Yeah.
That's value that you didn't realize when you made the decision. So you made the decision based on something less than the full value of the product. This is what we call perceived value. What do our buyers know about what we do? What do they believe about what we do? By the way, buyers only pay for perceived value. And so when we think about willingness to pay, now we get to talk, this is by definition, it's the maximum a buyer would pay you for your product. We know we can't read that or we can't read their mind. We don't know the exact number. But I want to point out willingness to pay is mostly driven by perceived value. So the better we're able to communicate our value, the more somebody is willing to pay us. The better we're able to articulate our value or know what value we have, the better we can find buyers who actually are going to have the problem and will get value from us solving the problem.
Maggie, can you make me a co-host?
Mark, we can't do it. He's out of town.
I didn't realize the microphone was right here. You're a co-host. Thank you.
So willingness to pay is not based on costs, right? Hopefully that's pretty obvious at this point in time. But
WTP's willingness to pay.
my mother-in-law bought a house in San Jose, California in 1969. They paid $25,000 for this house. We moved her up to Reno. I live in Reno, Nevada now. And we moved her up to Reno here. What did we do? About 4 years ago. And so we sold her house down in San Jose. What do you think we should have sold it for? She paid 25. We should have sold it for what, 28, 29, 30? Wait,
When did she buy it?
1969.
Close to $1 million.
Yeah.
About a much, much higher number, right?
Yeah.
But the whole point is how much she paid had nothing to do with how much someone was willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
How much you pay for something has nothing to do with how much someone's willing to pay you for it. I'm pausing for a dramatic effect. Does that sink in for a second?
Yes.
Because your costs really don't matter. Now, you have to have prices higher than your costs or you won't be in business for very long. But in general, what you want to be thinking about is what's my customer willing to pay, not how much did it cost me. So we saw this example earlier, but we took out of it that it's impossible to price better than willingness to pay. I also want to point out costs don't drive pricing. Customers' willingness to pay drives pricing. So please, if you're using Cost Plus today, stop it and then start focusing on how much is your buyer actually willing to pay. WTP, willingness to pay. It's one of the few acronyms I use a lot. Maggie, we can give these guys the slides when we get done, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So buyers trade money for value. Let's talk about the value journey they go through to figure this out. So this is pretty fascinating and pretty fun. And so what we're doing now is we're thinking about what are the decisions our buyers are making when they go to buy our product. And so the first question is, what's value? Well, we already saw that value is the result of solving problems, but there are different types of value that we can think about. And so one type of value we're going to call inherent value. So what's the value of solving the problem? Quick question for you. How much value do you get out of having air to breathe?
Not much. Get to live.
All the value. Yeah.
All the-
Everything I got, you can have it, right? A lot. Okay, excellent. Next question. I just captured some fresh Reno air. Anybody want to buy it? By the way, it's way cooler than the air that you guys have down there. Nobody wants to buy my air?
No willingness to pay.
Oh,
Is it as good as Fiji water? No, I'm just kidding.
you can't breathe Fiji water. So here's the point, is air, you don't want to buy my air because you have all the air around you that you want for free. And so I want to point out that air is worth either worth everything you own or absolutely nothing, depending on if we're talking about inherent value or relative value. And so this fits perfectly into these two decisions that our buyers almost always make. Will I and which one? will I buy something in the product category? And after we've said yes, then we say, okay, which one will I buy? So imagine for a moment that your significant other nudges you tomorrow morning and says, hey, honey, I'd really like it if you'd learn to play the guitar and sing me a love song. Just tugs at your heartstrings, doesn't it? You're like, man, I got to do that. You just said yes to the will I decision. What do you do after you say yes to the will I decision? You go to the guitar store and you start shopping around for guitars. And you say, which one sounds better? What's the right technology? Which one fits me? What's the price? Price becomes really important when people are making a which one decision. But I didn't even mention price when we were making a will I decision. When people are making that will I decision, they're asking themselves, what's the value of solving the problem? What's the inherent value? So in this case, the value of solving the problem is making your significant other happy. That's worth a lot. When we make the which one decision, we're trying to decide which is the best bang for the buck, which is the one that's best for my situation. And so let's use a CRM example. Let's say you just started a new business, which most of you have. Oh, CRM stands for Customer Relations Management Software, if you guys have not heard of this. So do you need a customer relationship management program? Well, if you just started, probably not. Because you've got 3 customers, you know their phone numbers, you can get a hold of them anytime you want, you don't lose track of anything. But after you've been in business for a couple of years, then you say you're starting to lose business, you forget to call people back, you're losing track of things, you say, yes, I need a CRM. You just said yes to the will I decision. What do you do right after you say yes to the will I decision? You probably go online and say, what's the best CRM for me? And you start making a which one decision. And you start asking it, where should I go? What should I buy? So most of our purchases, most of our customers' purchases, first say, hey, I've got this problem I want to solve. Then they go on to say, how am I going to solve it? Which one am I going to buy? So in a typical value journey, people start with that will I question. Will I buy something in the product category? Here they've got they're trying to find inherent value, which is the value of solving the problem. People are not price sensitive when they're making the will I decision. Then they go on to make the which one decision. Now they're looking at your product relative to the alternatives, relative to your competitors. And now they're very price sensitive. Price becomes a really important part of the story. Most purchases go through both decisions. Not all purchases, and that's good news for us, and we're going to see that in a few minutes. But before we see purchases that don't go through both decisions, let's look at a purchase that goes through both decisions. Your significant other says to you, hey, honey, I need you to run to the store, grab me a can of green beans. You run to the store and you stand in front of the aisle, and here you see Del Monte for $1.69, Safeway for $1.49. By the way, this says no salt added, so don't think that means we've added salt, right? That's no salt added. So out of curiosity, you've got to buy a can of beans, otherwise your significant other is going to be ticked at you. Who's buying Del Monte? Anybody?
Yeah, Brianna said she's grabbing the cheapest.
Is anybody getting Del Monte?
Are there any parameters? Does she
Maggie
want-
would buy Del Monte. Is Maggie still around?
No, I wouldn't buy Del Monte. I wouldn't, because I believe that they're made in the same factory.
Okay, we're going to get there in just a second, Maggie. Somebody pretend like you like Del Monte.
I recognize the brand, so I'm gonna say I will buy Del Monte because
Okay, tell me why you would buy Del Monte if you would buy Del Monte.
brand recognition,
Which
So-
implies what?
trust.
Trust, possibly better quality.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
Excellent.
going with this one.
excellent. Okay, Maggie, now let's hear it. Why are you buying Safeway?
Because I think they're made in the same factory. On the other hand, for meat, I'm gonna buy the highest quality meat I can buy, because I know there are standards, objective standards for that meat. For beef,
Yeah.
I don't think there's standards.
Okay, too bad. Okay, so it's very possible that it's the exact same green bean in the exact same can in the exact same factory with a different label on it, right? It doesn't really matter what you choose. What matters is how you make the decision. And everybody makes this decision the exact same way. We say, ooh, Del Monte's 20 cents more. Is it worth it? And some people say yes, and some people say no. But here's the coolest part of the story. It doesn't matter what's true. It only matters what you believe. If you believe Del Monte is higher quality, you would have paid the 20 cents more. If you believe it's the exact same green bean in the exact same can with a different label on it, you would buy Safeway. Perceived value is why people buy, not true value. And so when people are making this which one decision, do I want to buy from you or do I want to buy from a competitor? They're asking themselves, is the more expensive one worth it? I like being the more expensive one. And so therefore my job is always to explain why I'm worth it. I'll just blast through that one. Okay, turns out sometimes people don't compare you to a competitive alternative. They only make a will I decision and then they purchase. Who's been bungee jumping? Okay, Maggie, have we ever had anybody that said they went bungee jumping in these classes?
I think one time we did.
Okay, okay. Well, now you get to hear my story. I went bungee jumping. Happened to be 1999. I was in New Zealand, Queenstown, the Shotover River. It was $150. Oh my God, it was an amazing experience. I dearly loved it. But you're probably wondering, was that a will I decision or a which one decision? What you're really wondering is, did I consider a competitive alternative or was I just going to go there? And I got to say, I was just going to go there or I wasn't going to do it. Right? That was just a will I decision. Am I going to go do it? It's the home of bungee jumping. How could I not do it there? But now what you're probably curious about is, Mark, would you have jumped for 175? Sure. Would I have done it for 200? Yeah. 250? Probably. 300? Maybe not. Maybe not. There's a point at which I'll say no, but this was not a price-driven decision. Okay, now you guys all are my best friends. You happen to be standing next to me in Queenstown, New Zealand. It is only $150 to go bungee jumping. Who's going with me? Raise your hand.
I might.
Okay, how about 125? I got one. Aubriana said yes for 125. How about 100?
Nope.
75?
Uh-uh.
Okay. Really important point here. Price isn't driving that decision. Something else is driving that decision. When people are making the will I decision, it isn't price that's driving it. Sure, we could price too high that people wouldn't buy from us. But in general, if someone's only making a will I decision, we have the ability to raise prices 10% and it'll have zero impact on demand. And so what is a will I decision? It's when somebody's not considering a competitive alternative. Here are 3 quick examples. Let's say that you go to the movie theater, you walk in the door, you've paid for your ticket, you walk in, you look up at the concession board and say, am I going to take out a mortgage today for popcorn or not?
Yes.
Right? You're not a competitive alternative.
The answer is yes.
You're driving down the freeway. Oh, you're driving from Vegas to Reno. You see the sign that says last gas for 75 miles. You glance down, you've got 1/8 of a tank of gas left. You pull off. The price of gas is 4 times the price in Vegas. Are you buying gas?
YOLO.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. Because you don't have a choice, right? Here's my favorite example though. If you use an iPhone today, then you're probably thinking to yourself, should I upgrade to the newest iPhone or not? But what you're not thinking is, should I upgrade to the newest iPhone or switch to Android? It turns out Android they have 72% market share worldwide in the mobile phone market. Apple makes 85% of the profit in the mobile phone market. And that's because those of us who use Apple devices, we only make will-I decisions. We don't have competitive alternatives to choose from. And so Apple charges much higher prices than Huawei or LG or somebody who has competitors. Pretty amazing, isn't it? This should say to us is when we can recognize when our buyers are only making will-I decisions, we have the opportunity to charge higher prices. Oops, we got a Samsung gal.
I think Maggie is a Samsung gal too, aren't you, Maggie? Or I know you're
I'm
Android.
not even Samsung. I am Pixel, man.
So Samsung. No, I'm just kidding.
The price does not drive a will-I decision. We want to start thinking, when is it that I'm going to skip through this one so we have more time. When do our buyers only make will-I decisions? And it turns out that you can have will-I products. So we saw the iPhone we talked about, the utility in Vegas, you can only buy electricity from one company. So you get a choice. You're going to use electricity or not. Add-ons or options are often will-I decisions. I already have your base product. I need to put an on. I can't buy it from a competitor. I'm just going to buy it from you. We also find that sometimes we have products that normally would have competition, but we find them in a position or location where there is no competition. So we see popcorn at the movie theater, the last gas for 75 miles. Sometimes if you're selling to someone who's bought from you before, that we've already built a relationship, built some trust, they're not going to shop around and buy from someone else. Or if you were referred in, someone said, oh, you should really go buy from Shannon, then yeah, maybe they're not going to shop for someone else. But here's a big money idea for you. Discover your will-I products and raise their prices. What do you do if they can't buy from anyone else? And
I have a question.
you have my permission to do a 10% price increase immediately. Was there a question somewhere?
I thought I heard somebody start to say something.
I think that was an accident. I don't think nobody has their hand raised or nothing in the.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so 10%, ready? Everybody.
Increase the price.
10% for will-I decisions. By the way,
10% is enough?
well, I think you could go more than that, but I just gave you permission for 10% because I guarantee you nothing bad will happen.
That's why I said 120 earlier when you're like, how much did you sell it for? I said 120.
No, but there was a competitor at 90.
Oh, well, that's on me. I'm the apple of what I sell, so. It's good.
There you go.
So Justin, I have to say in all honesty, from the way what I understand about your business, probably your entire business is will-I business. Probably everything. So as you build out a retail outlet, you should be able to raise prices because I don't think people are saying, hey, am I going to buy incense from you or incense from someone else?
And the handmade vest from Peru.
Vest?
Where else
What
are they
vest?
gonna
Oh,
find
yeah,
it?
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
Just because I'm an iPhone user, does that mean that I'm put in a box of more likely to make frivolous purchases or like I'm less price conscious? Like I'm just curious when you see somebody with an iPhone, if you're like, yeah, this one's a sucker.
So I'm going to say no, because iPhone has the vast majority market share in the US. So no, most people in the US use iPhones. More people in the US use iPhones than Androids. But there are companies who know what browser you've used and what computer you use. And if you are browsing on a Mac to buy something, they often charge higher prices than if you're browsing on a PC.
Say that again?
Well, you shouldn't be talking.
Sorry.
He said they know what browser you're using, so if you're browsing on a Mac, they can charge you higher prices. Because, yeah, you are a sucker.
Elizabeth said I'm a sucker too.
Mark, do you have an Apple?
But Mark, I can tell you that in India, actually, they do it with iPhone too. It's a known fact that if you are shopping with an app which is on the iPhone, the prices are different. Even with Uber for a ride, yeah, it's different.
But Mark,
I use iPhone because of the privacy. So for me, there is a very high perceived value of privacy.
Can we not debate iPhone, Android at the moment?
Sorry, Mark.
But the reason I asked Mark is because you said earlier, very early on, that you always analyze price.
Always.
Right, so unless you have a reason like Anuj does for privacy, if you look at the price of a Google phone versus the Apple phone, what are you getting that is worth that much more? And I think it's only cachet.
So I think you missed a really important point, and that is I started using it in 2007, and switching costs to me are huge. And any given year, I'm not going to make the switch.
All right, well, that's a whole different wrinkle, isn't it? Switching costs?
It's value, right? That's the reason. So let's be super clear. Anyone who's using an iPhone today, the reason they buy the next iPhone isn't because they think that iPhones are so much better than Androids. The reason they buy the next iPhone is they don't want to learn how to use an Android. They don't
Yeah.
want to learn all the apps that they bought.
Then what do you do with the 10,000 photos you have in iCloud when you move to?
There's
Yeah,
no way
that's
to
it.
transfer them. I actually had an iPhone at one time.
Okay, we're
I-
done
I-
with this debate.
Two times.
We're
Okay. So
done.
Abriana has a question for you online, Mark. It's not iPhone related, I promise.
Okay, good.
Abriana said, I'm not understanding. I think it's because I try to be quote unquote cheaper, but I have certifications in my area, in my areas my competitors do not have. So what I'm getting out of this is don't charge less, don't charge more. Sorry, maybe I'm not paying attention.
So if I believe what you just said, Abriana, then what I would say to you is charge more than your competitors are charging
Because of the certifications, right?
because of the certifications. Most solopreneurs, I'm inferring you're a solopreneur based on the fact that you have certifications. Most solopreneurs don't charge what they're worth. And it's mostly because you're afraid to hear no. You think when someone doesn't buy from you, they don't like you or it's something bad about you. And it's really just a financial decision. It's not your self-worth when they don't buy, it's that it wasn't the right fit when they don't buy. And so my recommendation would be find people who care about someone who has certifications, who can deliver great quality work and charge what you're worth. Now, it's really hard to do that overnight. I get it. What you can do is you can start to move your prices up. You could charge more to new customers only. You could charge more for some of your services only and watch what happens. But I think you're going to find that if you can learn to explain the value of the certifications and the value of the work that you do, that you can easily get away with charging higher prices. All right. I've only got 8 theoretical minutes to do this.
We stalled 5 in the beginning. Remember, you get those back.
Oh, that's right. I have 13 minutes now.
Okay.
So let's talk about something called the value architecture. And so when I think about the value architecture, I started out the day saying, hey, we want to put ourselves in the shoes of this buyer, and I want to understand what's this buyer thinking. But here's what I do know. Whatever this buyer is thinking is not the same thing that this buyer's thinking. And it's not the same thing this buyer's thinking. And it's not the same thing this buyer's thinking. Everybody is thinking something different. You are unique. When you go buy something, the reasons you bought something are different than the reasons anybody else bought something. It's different. You bought it at that time because you had the problem at a different time. You were in a different circumstance. You were in a different situation. You are incredibly unique every time you buy something. Turns out, so is everybody else. Everybody is unique when they go to buy something. And so we look across this room of people and we say, well, how much is each person willing to pay? And we can't just say, I'm going to go charge different people different prices, and because they don't put the price they're willing to pay on their forehead. We've got to come up with some way to think about it, some method, some process. Our buyers are very different. It is okay to treat them differently. Don't feel like you have to treat everybody the same. So the first thing I want you to get through your head is that it is absolutely okay to charge different prices to different people for the same thing. We call this price segmentation. This comic kind of makes a joke of it, but this is really what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, how do I charge people who are willing to pay more and people who are willing to pay less? Each one of your buyers has a different willingness to pay. Price segmentation captures more of each buyer's willingness to pay. Now, let me go through a few examples with you. We're not going to go into depth in this section, but I just want you to feel comfortable this is allowed and start thinking about it. Last time you were on an airplane, do you think the person sitting next to you paid the same price for the seat that you did, assuming they weren't related to you?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not. Have you ever used a coupon?
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't pay the price as other people. Did you ever buy something when it was on sale?
Yes.
You didn't pay the same price as other people, right? So we could do lots of these examples. If you're in business, have you ever negotiated for something or seen something, or if you bought a new car, have you ever negotiated for a car?
Always.
So you didn't pay the same price as somebody else. Price segmentation happens around us all the time. So just realize it's okay. And we're going to see another example here in just a second. But before I give you the full example, we're going to talk about Uber. Real quickly, give me some use cases for Uber. Shannon, why would you ever ride an Uber?
Going to the airport. I don't want to pay for parking at the airport.
Especially if you're going to be there for 7 days or longer, or if it's Christmas time and you can't find parking. Absolutely. Beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. Tony, why are you going to use Uber?
I'm going to use the Uber because it's cheaper than a taxi.
Okay, taxis are way too expensive. Justin, why are you using Uber?
It's cheaper than a DUI.
Oh, man.
That's a good answer.
That's a good answer.
Sorry.
No, that's, yeah.
Excellent answer. Excellent answer. Okay, here's really the key point. And in fact, if you just think about the 3 different value statements we heard, which one do you think is the highest value to a buyer?
Justin's answer.
I absolutely agree, right? It's so much cheaper than getting a DUI, right? So the value is huge. Imagine if Uber could say, oh, you're drunk, we charge you a higher price.
Oh,
Because there's so much value there.
I'm sure they have a way to know that.
Just wait till you see some of this. But the real point is, if I were to ask you, how much should Uber charge? How do you answer that question? Right? It's really hard to answer that question. And as a consultant, I would always give this answer. It depends. But then what's the question? It depends on who are we charging, what are they buying, and what's the situation they're in. To do that, I think in terms, I call this a value architecture. This is the way that your products, your company delivers value to the marketplace. So when we think about, I'm just going to use Uber as an example. Uber could sell to everybody in the world, but they don't, right? They are a little smarter than that. And this first layer of Uber in the value architecture is they have to say, what market segments do we go after? Now, it turns out that we talked about one market segment. And that market segment we talked about, I call it Uber people. It's us wanting a ride. There's another market segment. Have you guys, anybody ordered Uber Eats before?
Yes. Often.
That's a market segment to them. And then there's a third market segment that they have that you may not have heard of, but it's called Uber Connect. And they're essentially delivering Amazon packages. So Uber uses their cars and drivers to deliver Amazon packages for a fee, of course. So they've defined these 3 different market segments. Once they've defined these 3 market segments, then they go in and say, well, given for any given market segment, how might I package my products? What am I going to do to offer this? And so Uber has, in the world of Uber people, we know they have Uber X, Uber XL, Uber Comfort, Uber Rideshare, Uber Teen is new, Uber Pets. I live in Reno. We have Uber Ski in the wintertime. And so they've crafted different packages because it's based on what are the details of the problem somebody wants to solve. And they charge different prices for each of those different packages. And then for any given product, let's call it Uber X from Shannon's house to the airport, how much are they going to charge? And now they do price segmentation, which we just talked about. And in price segmentation, they charge based on, they do surge pricing, right? So they charge based on how many people want rides, how many drivers are there. They also charge based on how far is the drive, what's the traffic going to be like, how long do we think it's going to take? So they use all of these things to charge different prices based on the situation or the circumstance. This is how almost every company should be thinking about this, right? But I'm going to help you for just a second. You've got a lot of different decisions to make based on this value architecture. When we think about this value architecture at the top level, you're asking, what's this foundational problem that people have? When I think about the foundational problem, it's, hey, I need a ride, I need food delivered, I need a package delivered. Right? In Uber's world. Once we know what we're doing, we can start to talk about, hey, do you need a ride? In our marketing, in our advertising. Down here, we deal with the scope of the problem. How big is that problem? What is it that they're trying to get solved? Is it raining? How many drivers are there? Right? So what's the scope of the problem? You have 6 people or 2 people. And then at the very bottom, we start to look at what's the situational context that someone's in. I said raining up here. I should have said it down here. Is it raining? How far is it? What's the traffic like? And so this is how we start to think about all of these. These are decisions that we have to make as companies around how we charge for our products, how we deliver value to our customers. And so if I ask the question, how much should you charge? The answer, of course, is it depends. But what does it depend on? It depends on who you're charging, for what, in what situation. And it should be based on value. And so this slide I put in here just for Shannon, although all of you should pay attention here.
And Tony?
And Tony?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you develop your own value architecture? So my recommendation to you is there's this population of people and you probably have a business today. And so you want to keep doing what you're doing. Don't get out of it. Don't try to say, hey, I'm going to go change my whole business model. So keep doing whatever you're doing because you're making money. Life is good. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick a market segment. I want you to define a market segment. I would guess, I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess that you've heard Maggie or someone in this program talk about an ICP, an ideal customer profile. Think of this as your ICP. I want to be even more narrow than a big market segment. So if we're thinking of Uber, instead of thinking, hey, I'm going to do all of these different Uber offers, I want Uber X. That's it. I want people who are going to ride in Uber X. After you've got that single market segment established, create a single product. Define it, describe the value of it, learn to describe value really well, and then you're allowed to do price segmentation for that product. Someone comes and says, I want to buy it from you, and they're willing to pay a lot, you charge a lot. They're very price sensitive, you give them a discount. This is how you start your business. This is how you start to build a business that truly delivers value. Then, once you've figured this out, you can start to fill in more packages. Now you can build Uber XL. You can build Uber Rideshare. You can build new features, new capabilities, new packages. After you've done that, then you can finally say, hey, what if we talk about a different market segment? And then you can say, what if we go talk about a different market segment? But the key is to start with one. When you start with one, this gives you the ability to put all of your marketing resources, all of your sales resources, all of your energy, all of your product development into a single market segment, into a single set of problems you're solving. And that's how you get traction in the marketplace. Oh man, I've only got 3 minutes. I'm going to tell you what this exercise is. We're not going to actually do it, but I want you to practice it or play with it on your own, unless Maggie lets me stick around for a while. So here's what the exercise is. I want you to think of a feature or a product that you sell today. And I want you to think of two different customers who would be willing to pay you different amounts. One would be willing to pay you more than the other one would be willing to pay you. And I have a really simple question. Why would someone be willing to pay you more? And so if we were to use the example, I'm going to use Shannon's driving to the airport example with Uber for a second. Shannon would be willing to pay more at Christmas time when there is no parking available than she would in the summertime when there's plenty of parking. Shannon would be willing to pay more when she's out of town for 14 days instead of out of town for 2 days. The why. And as you start to understand the why, then it starts to help us say, where are we in our value architecture? Because every one of those whys fits someplace in here.
I know we don't have time, but I have a really quick question.
Go ahead.
So, in the case of a beautiful young lady here who's selling lemonade, right? And if she is selling it at a farmer's market, now Summerlin is a higher income area, whereas downtown Summerlin, you have a lot more people that are maybe not as much income. Would you price it based on where she's selling it?
Maybe. I would certainly try it and see what happens. So let me say, here's the easy answer. There's nothing wrong with that. If you went to Summerlin and charged $5 a glass, I have no idea, I'm making numbers up. If you go to Summerlin and charge $5 a glass, you go downtown and charge $3 a glass, and then you find yourself in Summerlin and someone says, hey, it's only $3 downtown, there's a really easy answer. Well, it cost me more to be here.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if that's the true statement or not.
So she's selling lemonade and it's 90 degrees out. But then she's selling lemonade when it's 112 degrees out. Can she charge more?
Yes, of course you can.
You need more
Put
ice.
more ice in it
You
too.
need more
I'm
ice.
just kidding.
So she can charge whatever price she wants whenever she wants. Now the question is, if you get the exact same people going to the farmer's market every week and they're like, well, why does the price keep changing? You probably want to have some kind of answer. Right? We're testing prices. We price
Sure.
based on temperature, something like that. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with changing your prices. Okay, Justin's getting ready to leave, I can tell.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Do you have 2 minutes with me, Justin?
Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes.
I just want to do the summary for you real quick, and then I'm going to stick
Okay.
around and answer questions for, I don't know, 20 minutes if Maggie will let me.
I will let you.
Okay, so buyers trade value for money. This is the most important concept that I think of all the time. So we want to be thinking which buyers for how much money and what's the value. We saw that these three tenets were really important in context-driven pricing. We think about what's a buyer willing to pay, but that we know that willing to pay is contextual. It depends on how long am I going to stay? It depends on, do I have hair? It depends on, right? So there's all these different circumstances that start to drive what's someone willing to pay. And we want to start thinking, oh, how do I price differently based on those different contexts? We know that willingness to pay is malleable. We didn't spend a lot of time on this today, but as you learn what your value is and you learn how to explain the value of what you do, you get to charge more. People will pay you more. People will be more likely to buy your product. And lastly, perfection is impossible. Pricing is about value. It is not about costs. So hopefully you walked away with that. We know that value is the result of solving problems. So if we can start thinking of what are the results of solving problems, and when we talk to our potential buyers, we're pretty much always talking in problems and results. We saw that different people are willing to pay us different amounts. It is totally okay for us to charge different prices to different people. We want to be thinking about how do we do that. And then we saw that the fact that there were some products that are just will I products, or some situations that are just will I situations. And so these people are not price sensitive. It is okay to charge them a little bit more. And of course, we ended with the value architecture. And what I really want you to do is pick a segment. As a small startup, start to say, what's that one segment I'm going after? And how do I go after him as hard as I possibly can until I can build success? And then I'll go after a new segment. And that is all I got. Get out of here, Justin.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I'll connect with you on LinkedIn.
Okay, this is a QR code that'll get you to me on LinkedIn if you want. And I will hang out and answer questions if you guys have any or want to ask any.
Yes, so somebody has to go because it's their 50th birthday, and so it's a will I decision tonight for them.
Ooh, I wonder what it's like to turn 50.
Elizabeth.
Well, you'll find out in a couple years.
Yeah. Okay, ask something, somebody. Make it hard.
So for somebody like Shannon, and she has different areas of expertise, should she try to market just one, because you said to specialize? And should she pick the thing that she likes to do the most, or the thing where she has the most certifications, where she could possibly charge the most?
Oh, that's a hard question. And what I've always seen is these three circles, and you're looking for the intersection of what's something you like, what's something you're good at, and what's something people will pay you for. Right? And that's what you want to do. So it's the intersection of those three circles. But that's not what you asked, Maggie. You're like, do we want the one that they're going to pay me the most for? I think I would. I think I would choose the one I like the most if I thought I could be successful and make enough money at it in the short term. Because I hate doing things I don't like to do.
Yeah, she's nodding. Anuj, you came off mute. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, I had a question and very interesting point when I talk about the lemonade stand, and I've seen it in real business. Let's say with the temperature increasing, as Mark you suggested, you change the price. It does, and we've looked at data. It does lead to lower customer loyalty and eventual retention because although it's true that if you are able to get the willingness to pay, which I always believe value, but if the customer starts feeling that, you know what, the guy is not reliable because his cost hasn't changed because he's giving me whatever spiel it is, they tend to start looking out when they shouldn't, right? So they like your product, they feel they're getting great value, but the repeat sales, there's an impact on repeat sales. And I don't think there's an exact science, but there is an impact, which means it's not necessarily in my mind true. And I don't know how to put it. Maybe you can expand this better that at what point do you stop increasing the price because it is going to impact, although I'm willing to pay because the temperature is a great example right in the lemonade stand, but there has to be a point right where you start balancing it. And how does one do it?
Yep. So the first question is, if we're expecting repeat business and loyal customers, then we have to treat loyal customers really well, right? As in, I expect them to come back time after time. And if I were putting together a lemonade stand and I wanted to price based on temperature while still maintaining loyal customers, here's what I would do. I would have a 100-degree and above price, and I would have a discounted price for below 100 degrees.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So in essence, it's here's our $5 lemonade, but if it's under 100 degrees, we only charge $4 for it.
Okay.
Okay.
So in essence, we're giving a discount, we're not surcharging. Does that make sense?
No, I get it. You're not. It doesn't appear as it's a skimming pricing policy because really there might be a discovery phase, but after that, and I think that's a very useful. Thank you, Mark.
And it'd be fun to have a digital thermometer out front
Yeah. Other questions? Oh, does anybody have a hand up? Okay, well, you can reach out to Mark, and if you do that exercise that he suggested for the products that you're selling now, to think about which customer would pay more.
And then why? I want two customers, one that would pay more, one that would pay less, only pay less. And then why is there a difference?
I guess with my drinks, I actually make it look.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
You're very
This was
welcome.
very helpful.
What are you going to go do, Shannon?
I'm going to work on segmentation,
I don't really have.
narrowing it down. The one thing I'm struggling with, which is why I don't really have questions because it's a separate issue, is how to deal with AI in this, because now people can do a lot more with AI, which kind of makes me a little less relevant
Yep.
in some of these areas. So that's my biggest struggle right now.
What's your area of expertise? Not what can you do? What's a true area of expertise?
HR.
Yes. So you may want to play there. I play with AI and pricing a lot, and I find AI is pretty horrible at it. I use AI to help me understand problems, to help me understand the way companies think and the way buyers buy. But I think without my layer of expertise, it wouldn't go well for people. So I don't think it's
Yeah.
easy for someone to pick up and say, hey, how do I go price this product and use AI? And I think you want to find something like that says, hey, it's really hard for someone to just ask the question,
Yeah.
hey, I need to build an HR manual. And guess what? I can do that in AI. I've got a million examples and I can go build one.
Yeah. Which is why I was wondering if it's a little more difficult to use AI for accounting and operations. There's ways to do it, obviously, and it's going to keep changing, but sometimes I think the value might be greater in those areas because they're more dynamic and harder to piece together than building a manual, building job descriptions, doing review cycles, which can be very automated, and easily use AI for that.
Yeah. And the other thing you might consider doing is starting to use AI for yourself to answer those questions as deeply as you can.
Yeah.
I've built my own little GPT for pricing that I can use and I share with people to help them figure out certain things. And it helps you start thinking through what is it that I'm really doing for clients.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
and it's an extra tool for you and them. So
Awesome. Thank you very much.
you're very welcome.
Did you want to ask about lemonade? There's a question in chat.
Yes.
I didn't see a lemonade question.
No,
Not in the
I'm
room here.
well, my product is good, but it's more like the visual part of it that
Okay, bye.
We lost her. I'm going to jump, but I appreciate it. Have a
You're
good
very
night,
welcome,
everyone.
Shannon. Good night. It's me and Michelle's phone. That's it. Ooh, Michelle's phone.
Hi, so thank you so much for everything. Have a good night. I'm
You want me to
sorry
ask-
I didn't feel like going on camera. I just had a long day at work. I work in mental health. My question was basically with a notary service. I was thinking of doing like my name is Michelle, so it would be Shelly Signatures and just do a mobile notary.
Yeah. And so do you have a specific question?
Yeah, is there, okay, with the times of the day, can I charge more for a notary service? And then there's like the mileage that I have to use to get to them and so on and so forth.
So you can do that.
Uh-huh.
My recommendation would be to probably not, because one of the things we never brought up today at all, and that is the simpler your pricing is, the easier it is for people to make decisions.
Okay.
So
Okay, that makes sense.
if someone says, hey, would you come be my notary? And you're like, well, where do you live? How many miles is it? What time do you want me? And see it hard to get a price where if you say, look, it's $30 as long as you're within this 5 mile radius or 20 mile radius or whatever it is that you're willing to drive.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Get it. I got it. Thank you.
And so pick a price and a distance that you say, I am okay doing this.
Okay.
Right. And then the good news is let's pretend like the answer is 10 miles. You're willing to go 10 miles at $50, whatever the number is. And then you get someone who calls and they're only 3 miles away. Like, that was easy.
Yeah.
You don't have to give them a lower price because they're closer.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I get it. Okay. That's great. That's that's a question that I had for you earlier. And yeah, I'm just wanting to make sure that I'm going to do it properly with the price range, with not having to figure out miles or like the services that I'm going to render at what time, and like if it's going to be costing more at certain times. I did hear you say though that later you can put add-ons on your services, right? And then that's after word of mouth.
yeah, I don't know how you're going to get add-ons. So when I think about a mobile notary, when I hire a mobile notary, I couldn't imagine anything else I want to pay them for.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, so I wouldn't focus too much on add-ons unless there's other value that you would add, as in, hey, I'm going to deliver the package for you as well, or something like that.
Okay, good point. Good point. Okay, great.
Mark?
Thank you.
Mark,
Yeah.
we're back. I'm sorry, my computer died, so now we're on my phone.
Oh, nice.
Okay, but so if we can make this the last question, then we can escape without feeling too bad about the way things ended.
I don't
Okay.
think that at all.
So my lemonade is more visual, like it's colorful and glittery, edible glitter, and like it's got boba and I got flavor options. Is that something I could use as the oh, what happened?
Just keep talking.
So is that something that would work in my favor as far as my
Pricing. Well, she
value?
already charges more than $5
Nice.
because she has interesting flavors and it is very beautiful. It looks like you want to dive into it.
How busy is your market? How busy is your stand at the farmer's market?
I don't actually have a stand at the farmer's market. I'm just local here at like the little craft markets. And as soon as someone sees my product and they're like, well, where did you get that from? They'll come and it's more like they see the visual. They know that the lemonade stand's there, but they don't actually come over and that the
What
product.
happened?
So
That's
you're in a
the problem.
you're in a retail spot, is that what I understand?
No, she's usually in a craft stand at one of it's not a farmer's market, on the
We have pork chops that we can eat with our salad.
Can you mute, please, Michelle?
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, let's try that again. Do we have pork chops with the bobas?
Yeah. You can get an Indian taco with a boba.
There we go. So the question is, how busy are you?
I do fairly well. Craft market probably brings in about 50, 60 people, and I do maybe a couple, $300-400 worth.
Okay. So could you raise prices? Possibly. One of the things that if people love it because it's visual, then I hope that you have the visuals showing.
I don't. I need to
Yes.
do that. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
If people buy you because it looks so amazing, then make one and set it on the counter.
Okay. Or we're usually sipping on something, and then I have like funny names that reference, well, I name my drinks, like my specialty drinks, and it makes for little people come over, they laugh, take pictures of my menu, and then it brings people back. Yeah.
Yep. Do you have different sizes?
I only have one size. I have like a 33 ounce. It's got a little handle, like a little pail cup container. Once you put the lid on, it's sealed, and then it has like the boba straws, so you can actually, I guess I could refill it for a discount. I never thought about doing
Is the pale, is the clear so
Yes,
people can see?
yes. Can he see me?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think the
okay.
video's
Let
on.
me see. Let me just, in that case, let me show you a picture of, I don't know if you know. This isn't really the best picture, but it's a clear container and it's got a little straw and I got my little label on there. This is one of my drinks that I usually make, but you can't see anything because it's purple, but.
Okay.
Uh,
So I think what you want to do, I'd love to be able to see the stand and everything. What you want to do is say, what's the problem you're solving for people? So it sounds like they want it because it sounds fun. They might want it because it's, oh, you know what? Okay. By the way, what's your name?
Perdina.
Bertina?
Perdina.
Perdina. Okay.
Mhm.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do something for you that I didn't do for anybody else. This is pricing GPT.
Oh, okay.
What is your product called?
It's just lemonade. I also sell Navajo tea too. It's
Don't
cocoa
complicate
powder.
on me. Don't get complicated on me. So what's a boba?
They're round little.
They're tapioca balls of flavor.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to call it boba lemonade at a craft fair.
Or farmer's market.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
trying to put it to GPT to get GPT to figure out what the pricing should be.
That's what I did with it, and that's how I priced it. But then that's when Justin told me that they sell the smaller ones, the smaller container, 16-ounce size, at the Summerlin location for $13.
And how much you sell yours for?
7, 8 was boba. It's 33 ounces.
So twice as much for half as much.
Yeah, so obviously it's underpriced, right? If the other company is getting away with selling that at much higher prices,
Okay.
let me do this. I didn't like that answer. Comma FP, boba lemonade at a farmer's.
I put in Las Vegas, and that's when it told me it ranges from 4 to
Oh.
6,
So,
7, 8.
so what you have to know is that I'm not asking it how to price.
Oh.
I don't trust AI at all for that. Here's what it does is I just ask you, tell me why people would buy a boba lemonade in a farmer's market. So these are foundational problems. So I need to cool down, right? I want a treat during a weekend outing. I'm looking for something new or Instagram worthy. That's pretty interesting. The kids are bored or cranky. Want a non-caffeinated alternative. And so what I think you want to be able to do is pick 1, 2, 3 of these and be able to talk to people as they go through and understand why they care,
Okay.
right? What's the age group of people that usually buy one from you?
It ranges. Once the children see the glitter and the boba, then the parents bring their children over to buy the product. So it starts out with the adults. I want to say like maybe teenagers and young adults. Yeah.
Okay. I like this.
Oh, Mark, it's on my phone now, so we can't see that.
Oh, you can't see it?
But it's blue highlighting. We can see that highlighting.
That's okay. Here's what I highlighted. Looking for something new or Instagram worthy. So I love trying new things, especially if they look cool and taste good.
Okay.
Here's an idea for you. What's the company name?
I'm still debating on it, but the Lemon A Shack?
Say it again. Limit A?
A Lemon A.
Lemon A?
Only because my customer base has been Native American. It's like a slang. Like when you're joking and you're like, oh, let's see. Okay, I'm from New Mexico. A lot of the locals, Hispanics, they say, "Oh, umbers." That's like, "Oh, cool," or that kind of thing. So Native Americans, they like to use the slang "a" as like, "Oh yeah," they're joking. So that's why put it into the lemonade part as A. So,
How do you spell A?
like AYYEE. I don't know. It's just a phrase that people use, like, oh, cool, hey, bro, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But I can change it. I'm still up in the air about the name.
Okay. I think after you find a name that you like, then what I would do is, okay, so I'm working on a great idea here. Here's what I would do. I would sell a boba, a lemonade, at whatever price you decide you want to charge, which by the way, you can go up now. So you should take it up a little bit. So I would charge them for something. And then I would say, if you take a picture of you drinking this with the name in the background, we'll give you $3 off your next one.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm sorry. It's got to be posted on Instagram, right? Come show me your post on Instagram.
Okay. I tried to do a Instagram. Oh, okay. That's a good idea. Because I'm trying to do the whole Instagram thing and I don't really care. Well, I just haven't, I don't do social media.
So I would pick one. I would call it Instagram because it seems like the right one for that audience.
Okay.
And I would say, when you bring in your post, we'll give you a discount on the next one.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for all of your time today.
You're very welcome.
You guys for participating.
Thanks to the team. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. Tony
Thank
says
you.
thank you.
Hey, Tony, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, see you guys later.
Great, Mike. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So long.